Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, before you go and hit the unsubscribe button, I probably saw the video.
Oh my god, highways? Seriously?
And considered, why would Reece be making a video about highways? Highways are clearly diametrically opposed to all public transportation, right? I think discussions around things like highways and other pieces of infrastructure should and can be more nuanced. There's a concerning trend in the public transit discourse, at least the one that exists on Reddit forums, Facebook groups, and Twitter, which toes this very hard line as it regards to urbanism and transit. What do I mean? For example, obviously, according to the popular transit discourse, highways are evil, cars are terrible, and all of our infrastructure should be nationalized. We should also build parks on every corner, and in this magical utopian world, it will always be sunshine and rainbows. In reality, we have to be pragmatic with the infrastructure we have. Highways have been hugely destructive not just in the United States, but around the world. They've been destructive socially, economically, and environmentally in a lot of cases. But the truth is, the damage is largely done. While some highways make sense for removal because they don't necessarily serve a very important transportation purpose, for example, linking you deeper into a downtown when you could take surface streets, some highways, which cross cities or form transport routes for trucks, are unlikely to ever be slated for removal because they're important and they're part of the goods movement network. Part of the nuanced approach to looking at how highways can be used for transit is accepting that highways are something that exist. We can't necessarily rip all of them out, but in a sort of victory for transit, we can consider taking lanes and space from highways and highway right-of-ways to build public transit, and it can often be great infrastructure. Now, before I get into it, I want to point something out. When I make these videos, I'm never meaning to talk about an exhaustive list of transit systems. On a recent video about air rail links, people commented about air rail links that I missed in cities across North America and the world. I can't mention every single transit system which uses a certain implementation or method. The transit systems I mention are often ones I'm familiar with or ones I think do a particularly good job at a particular thing. Now, of course, public transit in highway right-of-ways has a storied history. The TTC subway, or the Vancouver SkyTrain, or BART, or LA Metro Rail all have operations either in the median or around highway corridors. To be clear, there's often pitfalls with using highway corridors that need to be really clear. In some cases, highways run through kind of the middle of nowhere or through industrial areas, and in this case, stops are unlikely to serve a massive number of people. One of the large issues with the LA Green Line is its low ridership. Indeed, in a lot of cases for highways, you won't be able to serve a large walk-up transit community. Instead, much like Toronto does with its TTC subway that operates down the median of Allen Road, you have to provide high-quality transit connections. Now, this is something that generally don't exist very broadly in the United States, which probably explains why highway rail has largely been banned there. Of course, if we can run subways and rail systems directly to where people are, it's far better. But highway right-of-ways can make it really easy to quickly spin up new rail systems. I actually think that while rail systems can utilize highway right-of-ways, and new systems like Montreal's REM are becoming increasingly flexible, meaning that you can serve the highway right-of-way and then jump off the right-of-way to go serve a transit-oriented development or a community near the highway before coming back onto the highway, something that isn't necessarily possible with heavier types of trains like DC Metro or BART or MARTA. Something I think can be far better than rail in highways is really good bus service. To paint a picture for you, Toronto is blanketed in a huge highway network, but the highway network isn't really used for buses. This is for a number of reasons. While regional operator Go Transit does operate some regional style buses, like from municipality to municipality using highways, there isn't that many stops. And the way that the stops are arranged mean that the buses need to get off the highway, drive some distance in the street grid, and then stop at a station and drive all the way back to the highway before continuing to the next stop, which is incredibly inefficient. Part of the issue here is that if the point of your service, buses in this case, is to force people to transfer, then you should make the transfer point as close to the highway as possible, because no matter what, the passenger still needs to get on another bus or transit service to get to their final destination. One way you can fix this problem is by having regular local services take the highway to get to another destination. A beautiful model of this is in Vancouver. One place I lived in South Surrey was really well served by express commuter buses. These bus routes operated with coach units and sometimes double-deckers, though regular suburban units would work just fine. What these buses do is make a number of stops as they're in the kind of suburban core, and then get onto the highway and make a few express stops. These stops are usually right off of the highway interchanges, and they connect to other transit routes from there. The benefit here is that while you don't necessarily have a station to connect at, if you're only going to be doing a bus-to-bus transfer, then a bus shelter is kind of enough. Once these buses get on the highway, they have really high quality bus lanes, albeit not the highest quality. They're typically shoulders that have been converted into bus lanes, but this still lets you fly by traffic, especially in congestion. This type of bus is actually really impressive to me, maybe more so than a lot of BRT systems. Once you get on it, you actually go very quickly, and it feels like rapid transit in a lot of ways. And since you don't have to worry about congestion, again, it gives you a sense of rapid transit, like when you're in a subway or a SkyTrain and you're flying above traffic. The optimal layout, and the one that should be pushed for if, say, you're doing a highway repair or modification program. To be clear, we're not actually building that many new highways in North America. There's only a few. But there's constantly rebuilds and renovations, etc. So if your city or region is doing a major renovation or rebuild, you should try to push for improved bus infrastructure. The sort of piece de resistance of bus infrastructure on highways is the Highway 1 project in Vancouver. This project runs from Langley to the SkyTrain station at Loath in Burnaby. Essentially, you start at a nice little bus loop and park and ride facility in Langley, which services a number of routes, including the express double-decker bus service, the 555. The way the highway is sort of arranged is that there is a roundabout underneath the highway, which kind of goes elevated in this section. What happens is buses just exit the park and ride, go straight into the roundabout, and then at the center of the highway are on-ramps that are only for HOV cars and buses, meaning they're very lightly used. Buses then enter the highway and are directly in the HOV lane. This means that buses have lots of room and can hit top speed quite quickly. There's only one additional stop on this route, but it's very smartly planned. The way it works is, much like at the previous interchange, the bus goes down a ramp in the center of the highway where an intersection is. They pick up passengers from a transfer point, which is another bus shelter that passengers from local buses can transfer to, and then it gets right back onto the highway to pass over the Portman Bridge, a really large bridge that was built in the mid-2010s to replace an aging arch bridge. Now, for the rest of the trip, the bus travels fast down the HOV lane before the final nice piece of infrastructure comes up. When arriving near Loath Town Centre Station, there's actually a special bus-only exit. What this allows the buses to do is go again from the median lane of the highway. This is really important because since you don't have to cross traffic, you don't get stuck, there's less risk of buses being in an accident, and the bus trips are super consistent in terms of travel time. The buses go down the ramp, make a 90-degree turn, and then they're just a short drive away from the SkyTrain station. This style of bus infrastructure on a highway is fantastic, and since a lot of highways are never going to be fully removed, especially when they're traveling through suburban areas, building this sort of bus infrastructure on top of highways is great. And because HOV and bus lanes help expand capacity, you can actually make a very strong argument to your Department of Transportation or whatever other agency is organizing highway rebuilds. Anyways, I hope this video rustled some feathers. Of course, highways have done a ton of damage in North America in particular, and frankly around the world. But these same highways that exist, again, broadly around the world, but primarily in Australia, North America, etc., can be used to make better transit. While we can't necessarily fix all of the mistakes of the past, correcting them by improving the infrastructure we have and making it more equitable, accessible, and environmentally friendly is a great approach. And adding high-quality bus infrastructure or rail along highway right-of-ways where it makes sense could be a great way to connect cities which were traditionally cut apart by highways. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.